Right, so here we got a 2018 Cayman, pretty much base Cayman, entry-level Cayman. So 2-liter, 4-cylinder, flat 4, turbo, single turbo, I believe. About 300 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. So this is the entry level, and this is a 2018. So they're not very much different now. Now you have the option. You still have a base like this. You have an S. You have a GTS. You have GT4. The GTS is going to be the start of the naturally aspirated 6-cylinder. The GTS before, so about this generation, GTS was a 2.5-liter turbo, about 375 horsepower. The new GTS 4-liter naturally aspirated engine is pushing close, I think it's 394, because the GT4 is like 414. So this is going to be black brake calipers, smaller brakes. These ones, Porsche brakes seem to do this ridging thing after a while that I've seen. This has Pirelli tires on it. This, in my opinion, this is the purest sports car that that Porsche makes right now. This is going back to the low horsepower, very basic, very good balanced car, mid-engine. So you're looking at, you know, the mass of the weight is, you know, right here between the center line of that rear axle, you know, to the back of the seat there that you can see. You got your air intake down here. You got, this one has the dual, I don't think it's the sport exhaust, but this is the double exhaust. The standard is a single oval exhaust tip. This is a dual round, which I like the look of better. So we'll just walk it. This, I'm not sure what headlight this is. Porsche has a lot of different options when it comes to headlights. This is just the, I want to say, I don't know if it's xenon or LED, whatever. I'm sure somebody can go nerd out. I don't remember what exact. I think that might be the base headlight. This one has the, I don't know if I'd get these in chrome, but the windshield washer there. Other than that, though, there's not really too much. It has the model designation delete back there. So this is the key here, and this one is, it's not really the same color. It's almost like shark blue. This is Miami blue. Not an optional color anymore. Now you've got to go with the shark blue. This has a front trunk, which I'll open here. That's your front trunk. You've got a air inflator, because there's no spare. So you got an air inflator over here. You can see some of the wear, kind of the things that get a little bit worn out here. You've got your handle to get out there, and then you've got a toolkit, you know, tow hook, lug nut, socket, all over here on this side. But pretty good amount of space. There you go. You've got your washer fluid over here, your brake right there. This cover pops off, and there's some other little things under there. I want to say the battery. You've also got a rear, let's call it cargo area. That's about there. You've got these little kind of bin pieces over here. You can put small stuff in there. You've got a pretty good amount of space. You've got some tie downs, and you've also got some tie downs up here. There is access. You can access the engine. You have to take a bunch of stuff off, but I think these here, yeah, you got oil on one side, and then the other side here is coolant. So that's kind of how you access that. This is, you got a little handle here to close it. That's how it closed. Going over here on the driver's side, you've got a storage bin here. You've got a little bit of storage in here. Window switches here. You get your memory seats and stuff. This one has the optional 8-way adjustable seat. So it's got lumbar and that whatnot there. Got the switches for the front trunk and the rear cargo area there. The seat pops forward. I guess you could put like a briefcase back there if you wanted to. I got a strut bar in the back. This adds a little bit of structure there. Let's get in the now this does not have sport chrono, so sport chrono will get you a drive mode selector there, and then the stopwatch clock that's up there. So this does not have sport chrono, so that means that you have a sport button here. You've got PSM, Porsche stability management, but only 2 settings, on or off. Auto stop start, and then the rear wing pop up there, which we'll pop that up. So there you got the rear wing deployed. Add a little bit of downforce. Oh, you got like an LED taillight, which is kind of nice. Probably looks pretty good. Ignition switch on the left, like all Porsches. Put that back down. You got your hazard button here, center locking. So 1 button locking for everything. Got a pretty basic PCM here. Dual zone climate control. This one has heated seats. There is a cooled seat option. But I prefer, me, opinion-wise, prefer this spec of generation of Porsche. So like 991.2, 991.1, 911. This generation, I believe this is like a good mix of a little bit of technology with, like, you know, the dials look pretty good. You've got a nice font on there. You've got your selection here for different information there. But this is a very basic. I like the basicness of it. Still feels very feels very good still, I think. Still somewhat modern, but it does have a generational feel to it now. Oh, you've got your parking brake, electric parking brake over here. Auto headlights, basic stuff up here. You got a glove box with a you've got your connector in there, which is just power, and then you've got a data one in here. That's for your Apple CarPlay. You got a cigarette lighter ashtray there. I don't know who used that. So this one has paddles. It also has, I'm not a really big fan of these small buttons, but they work well. You also got the cable shifter. So like all 911s now, except for GT3, have a electric shifter. So you can't use the shifter anymore to shift. You have to use the paddles when you go to manual mode, or to up or down a gear. This one you can actually, when you slide it over to manual, go to manual here, you can use the shifter or the paddles. So it gives you the choice. I like the choice myself. But yeah, pretty basic, you know, 300 horsepower, 280 pound-feet of torque. Torque comes in early and nice and broad torque band there. This car has 55,000 miles on it. So wear-wise, these sills get a little worn out. People kick their feet on here. These leather items on the door handle pulls there, that gets a little shiny. The steering wheel's shiny leather now. So that is, you know, that is part of the wear there. But seats held up pretty good, I'd say. Probably close to real leather. Got a little antenna up here. High mounted brake light up there. But yeah, this is it's a good spec. Oh, this is an optional wheel as well. This is like the S wheel. So S wheel you can option on a base car, which is I think I like the look of that a little bit better. Even though the base wheel, the standard wheel, is actually not that bad in person. It doesn't look that good on the configurator, but it looks way better in person. But this is the obviously the optional wheel. A very balanced and very neutral car. So let's go take it for a drive, and I'll show you what it drives like. So I thought before we actually take it for a drive, I'll start it up, and you can hear the exhaust from the outside because people don't like the noise of this engine. I don't mind it, so we'll fire it up here so you can hear it from the outside. I'll put that there. does about 5,000 RPMs max. So like 3 to 5. A couple revs there. Now we'll take a drive. All right, so it's not on right now. I'm gonna fire it up real quick. You know, noise inside the cabin. It's pretty noisy for, you know, not being in sport mode. A little noisier when you put it in sport mode. So you hit the sport button there. You hear the RPMs kind of rise a little bit. Right now, without sport mode, they're sitting at about, let's say, 800. Hit the sport button, boom, you go up to about 1,000. So you get a little bit rise of RPM there. You also have a little bit better throttle response, but the main difference, in my opinion, is the PDK transmission shifts very different when it's in sport mode. And that's with everything. And then the other cars with Sport Chrono that have Sport Plus is going to be very different when it goes between normal, sport, and then Sport Plus. So I find that that's one of the things about, the good thing about having the Sport Chrono is you get kind of 3 levels of adjustment, where this car only has essentially 2. Of course, if you're shifting it manually, you know, then what difference does it make? I find myself shifting the car a lot manually versus letting the car do the work. You do have to watch kind of steep driveways you could possibly hit. The parking sensor system is super sensitive, so it will let you know of things that you don't really need to know of. A lot of the time, it's very sensitive, like I said. Now, me personally, a lot of people criticize the 4-cylinder turbo engine. I think for road driving, you're not going to the track, and even then, you could get a lot out of this car on the track, especially if you're a beginner. You want to start out with a Porsche, money maybe not an issue. Get one of these cars, learn how to drive it really well, and then jump up to something else. Maybe jump up to a GT4 if you're going the track route. But for the road, for street driving, this engine is plenty good, I think, in my opinion. Just good for road driving, good for the city. You know, you can slide it over in manual, shift it manually. You do hear a little bit of turbo every once in a while. If you're on the throttle and then off the throttle, you're going to hear the turbo a lot more, obviously. And we'll try to do, I'll have to wait at this light here, but try to do a little bit of a pull so you can hear kind of go, maybe cut through a couple gears. But pretty comfortable car. It's a mid-engine car, so you're sitting low, balance is good. You don't have a lot of interior space. I do feel that versus and comparing to the Boxster, you feel like you get more interior space because there's windows. That where the Boxster top kind of curves down, you actually have a window that you can lets in a little bit of light. And because the top doesn't need to fold down, and it goes all the way to the tail of the car, essentially, you have that whole open area behind you. So it feels a little bit more open, a little bit more airy in here. More like a 911 does, because you have the back seat, you have the bigger windows in the back. Where the Boxster, you feel kind of encapsulated in the car. Obviously not, that's with the top up, now the top down, but I don't know if you can hear it. Just sitting here at idle, you hear the engine. It's one of the things about this car is it feels like a pure sports car. You hear noises. You hear a lot of road noise. So we'll take it kind of easy through the bumps there, or the dips. I'm shifting manually with the shifter, but again, you can also use the paddles. RPM shift there. Hear little crackles and bangs. Not as much as I've found when you have Sport Chrono. When you have Sport Chrono and you're in sport mode, big lots of crackles and bangs. see, the shifts are, this transmission shifts unlike many other transmissions for semi-automatic. It just has these crisp shifts. I mean, you can tell Porsche has been doing this a while with this transmission. And then when we go from this light here, I'll leave it in fully automatic. That way you can kind of see, we'll see with you know, 25%, 30% throttle, what the shifts are like there. I think 2018 car with about this many miles is probably still around 50,000, maybe a little bit more depending on options, but still a pretty affordable price point to get into a mid-engine Porsche. Oh, the other thing, you've got the hideaway cup holders here. Not my favorite. They work, but they're not the greatest cup holders. So it shifts about 3,000, just leaning on the throttle a little bit. We'll say maybe 25% throttle, but it keeps the engine in a good part of the power band where the torque is at. From this stop sign, we'll take sport mode off. We'll go back to normal. A little bit, you know, obviously quieter. And I mean, this is a decently broken up, cracked road. You hear a lot of road noise. But it's just, again, a sports car, right? Let's remind ourselves what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with a sports car. It's going to be noisy. You want it to be noisy. You want to be able, you know, and then auto stop start when you come to a stop, in because in sport mode it goes off automatically. But we can turn it off there. You know, you got to remember, this isn't a Macan, this isn't a Taycan, this isn't a Panamera, which Porsche will tell you are sports cars because everything has the sports car DNA. But true sports cars, and I would say the 911 is bridging that gap between a sports car and a grand touring car. The Cayman is still it's a sports car. This is not necessarily a grand tour, even though you could use it for grand touring, so to say, as a GT car. But it is pure sports car, right? You're gonna hear noises, you're gonna hear the road, you're gonna feel those things. You want that experience when you're driving this car. Like a Miata, right? This is in a sense, this is the Porsche's Miata-esque car. Just enough power. Good dynamics, neutral dynamics. And this is just cruising normal mode again. I could drive this car every day because I knew I would know what I was getting. I know what I was in for. Make this turn here, and then we'll kind of see cruising around. We're about 5th gear right now, 2,000 RPM, about 40 miles an hour. Hit the sport button. RPMs jump up above 2,000 RPM. But now it's going to react very crisply to my shifts here, or to my throttle input. What I like also about Porsches, all the Porsches pretty much, all the cars, Macan not so much, Cayenne not so much, but you can see the tops of the fenders. I like that. I like that in the Taycan. It gives you this sense that you're at the front of the car, and that your placement of the vehicle is very easy. So we're going to start shifting it manually here. So we'll go through this industrial complex. Maybe we'll like I said, I think very good power for the street. Good to make you always feel like you have this performance-oriented car. Now, I guess you could maybe think differently if you had a 911 maybe that had at least 400 horsepower. Also very good. The other thing I like about this car, and this is what I found driving down windy roads yesterday, I kind of spent almost about 100 miles, 400 miles in it, and went on some windy roads. And one of the things I really liked about the car was I felt like it could always be in the power, and that the rear wasn't going to risk stepping out. You know, it wasn't. Now that could be fun, but also if you don't want to have to always feel like you have to stay on top of the car, like when you're in a GT3, 500 horsepower, 370-ish foot-pounds of torque, comes in very soon in their RPM range. You always have to stay on top of the car, especially with that front end and how it digs in. When you apply power, you have to be very smooth and conscious of that. With this car, you don't have to be as on top of it, in terms of like, you don't have to be constantly risking a bit of oversteer. You can always kind of lean on the car a little bit, and you might want that driving experience. And I think that this is the car for that. You also can just cruise. It's not going to feel always on it like a GT3 or even the GT4. GT4 probably not as bad as a GT3, but it's going to be edgy. It's going to have this edge to it, because that's what you want on a racer. It's going to be very responsive all the time. But that's what you're looking for in that car. This car, not so much, which is kind of nice. I could see myself owning one of these. I actually think this is probably the most underrated Porsche. And if I was going to spend my money, probably even if I was going to buy a new one, right? I'm not the richest person, probably not in the budget of a 911, but I could be in the budget of a car like this. Now, you are going to spend a little bit more than you were back in 2018 when this car was new. I think it was at the low, maybe it might have been high 50s at the time, definitely low 60s. Now you're going to be spending a little bit more. You can't get them for as little. But the nice thing about this generation is, because they're still making this generation, you could probably find a car with very low miles. So open the window here, we'll do a pull. That's in a tunnel. You know, you could probably find one low miles, still feels pretty new, one owner kind of car, but still it's going to feel fairly new, because they're still making this design. So this is what you get if you went and you bought a new one. You're going to get this design, this layout, this kind of feeling. Steering wheels, I think, are a little, this might be the sports steering wheel. This doesn't feel as big. I think this is the optional wheel. But anyway, I could go on and on about the car. I spent a lot of time in these cars, but I don't get to spend a lot of time in them on the road. So that was one of the reasons why I kind of this is a rented car. So one of the reasons why I decided to rent one was because I don't get to spend a lot of time with it on the road. So I wanted to feel normal every day. I've driven a Boxster, and I personally prefer the Cayman over the Boxster, in my opinion. So yeah, that's it. Hopefully, you know, if you're looking at this video, is kind of for the person who's maybe is in that situation. They're looking at these older cars because they don't necessarily want to jump in, buy a newer car. You could probably get really good, affordable deals on a couple-year older car. You know, these are Are they as desirable as a 911? Probably not. I think more people buy pre-owned 911s because they can't buy new 911s. They buy pre-owned 911s. Is that many people buying Caymans? I don't think so. I don't know, though. I've actually known a lot of people that buy brand new Boxsters and Caymans. They don't buy pre-owned ones. Older ones, but not the newer ones. So this is, I think, a good option. It might be overlooked. This might be the most underrated Porsche in terms of what you get for the money. Because you can't get a 911, you know, can't get a new one for under $100,000 anymore. Used to be you could get one $91,000. You could get it topped out in the 90s there. But I don't know. I think for the road, for doing with it what most people are going to do with their car, I don't know. And I think the engine sounds awesome. I actually think this is a good sounding engine. I'd have to drive it back to back with a 2.5 turbo and see if I like that engine as much. I just feel like this 2-liter has this kind of gruntiness to it that when you get it up in the 3,000 to 5,000 RPM range and you shift, it feels like you're ripping it, and you're really, I guess you are. You kind of, I don't know. Like I said, I could go on and on, but that's pretty much it. That's what I wanted to do this video for. So hopefully you enjoyed it.